Hey guys, it's Will. Hopefully you're having a great Monday afternoon. Today I'm looking outside. It's a really beautiful day. It's starting to see the sunset here. That's really making me excited to be here in this live stream and share with you guys some of the companies that we're watching here on Monday as we start to enter this week, start to see the markets react and potentially picking out some good investments for this week. So we're going to break down a few companies, a few different stocks. If you guys have companies you want me to take a look at, go ahead and drop them in the link below. The whole goal here is to get you guys some value, really keep you out of bad trades, and hopefully provide you with some insights into some new trades that can be favorable for you and potentially here so that we can make some money. So that's kind of the goal. Let's jump into it. We're going to start it off. Someone already commented there, NVDA. So that's Nvidia. We take a look down here. It looks like Nvidia was starting the day today a little bit in the green and then sold off, I believe, and then recovered. So had a pretty big dip there and it recovered, and end of day it's back up here to $109 a share. So I'm gonna actually pull up NVDQ is the one that I think oftentimes trade. That's the inverse actually. Sorry, it's NVDL. So we're gonna take a look, I believe. Let's see, NVDL. So this is essentially this is the bull for Nvidia. So it goes up, I believe, an extra 2% every time it goes up 1%. Nvidia was on a trend recently. You could see that it's holding this level, this uptrend. And why is that important? Well, recently pulled down today. This is a swing we see quite often, especially in these uptrends. And now it's starting to potentially make its way back up. Now, if we see this move play out, let's say tomorrow or even after hours today, and it continues this uptrend, it's about a 7% increase from current prices. So that's something we're going to watch closely. It's really a 7 to 10% swing that could take place here. Right now, the risk and the reward to me looks a little bit favorable, but you do see now that it made a nice recovery already. So again, from that dip today, it recovered about 6%. So on the near term, just to look at it on the RSI, look at it on the MACD here, you can tell that it looks a little bit overbought. You see that overbought, the RSI down here. MACD, it's kind of looking a little overextended. So maybe we do see it sell back down from now in pre-market, but at the end of the day, all we can do is enter a trade, and we can't predetermine what the market's going to do. We just would essentially look for pretty nice margin for profit up there, about 8%, and then the risk, being down here at the support around $34. So essentially, we'd look for a swing up to this $37, $38 range, and that's what we're looking at. Now, if you take a look, kind of a longer term view, let's just take a look back here. It's pretty interesting to watch the progression of the stock. It's a lot clearer if you head over to NVDA. So, and we'll take a look at those. Hey, Corey, familiar with Poet or NVTS? No, can't say I am. Tyler P, KULR, CTN, BBAI. Yeah, we could take a look at those. So again, Nvidia, for just a quick look for Thad here as he's calling it out. You can see there's been this overall trend here. Kind of play that out right there. And you do see this resistance level really start to act a little bit volatile recently, super volatile. In fact, you see it sell down all the way here. And the overall trend, I mean, it looked like, if you look at all-time high, look at the all-time highs, it looks insane how much it surged. But now you start to see it sell back down here, starting to look a little bit more favorable, potentially for a recovery. And if we keep up some of this direction here, then just on NVDL, NVDA, sorry, it's a 45% increase that potentially we could see. So if that's over on NVD, was it L we were just looking at? That would be a 80% increase. So those are the types of swings we'll be watching to see if it continues that direction. But right now, it is kind of looking like market still has that downward momentum. So we'll see how the earnings go for this week. In regards to specifically Nvidia, there's some other big tech that are reporting this week that we'll be watching closely. Okay, Corey says, familiar with Poet and BTS? No, I'm not, but I could take a look. Tyler P. All right, so let's take a look. The next one is KULR. Yeah, definitely seeing some moves with KULR as of recently. That was the last markup we did. We said maybe it gets up to $1.80 range, but let me clear this up because it's kind of hard to tell what's going on here. Let's hide all the drawings. Take a step back and look at KULR. So it's been selling off. I mean, you can see it's holding below this 200-day moving average. It's starting to recover. You start to see this swing and recovery, but it is still bearish. As you can tell, it's getting rejected by this 200-day moving average. It's not really pushing up above it too much. Now, if we see it continue this direction, it can, but to me, as of now, it looks like had a really great swing that we were able to catch up to about $5.60. But KULR, the three things that we look at, right? From the financials to the news to the chart, KULR just doesn't have the type of news that I could trust. Unfortunately, if there's like one thing I look for, in any company that we invest in, it's that they're transparent and that they tell you really the details, and they're okay with telling you the details of what it is that they're doing. And to be honest, this company does a very bad job at sharing the details. They have these AI generated photos that they use. They say that they're awarded these contracts, but they don't say how much time the contracts are for, if that is cash in the bank that they already have, or if it's contingent on years of work. They just give you this 2-paragraph thing of, we could be awarded this $6.7 million contract. Same thing is true, like if we just go back with the company, really things started to get murky ever since they introduced the Bitcoin reserve, which is fine. That's fine if you introduce a Bitcoin reserve, but again, they didn't give us details. Are they selling their own stock in order to buy Bitcoin? That's something that as an investor, I'm going to want to know, but they don't actually tell you. They have this whole Bitcoin acquisition strategy. They added this whole other part of their website where they talk about their Bitcoin strategy for buying Bitcoin and allocating 90% of their cash into surplus cash into Bitcoin. But they don't say, they say future cash utilization. Is that it? Or are they selling their own stock to buy it? And that's all I really want to know. But again, not any details. And then you look at their company, they have this other article, KULR's NASA certified M35A battery cells selected by leading private US space company. Okay, which space company? Yeah, they don't tell you. They say a leading private US space company. I love intrigue. The marketing's exciting, but what do we know? I love a company that has great marketing. Like, that's awesome. But communication is way more important than fancy marketing or exciting articles. If you guys, agree or disagree, let me know. But yeah, I mean, someone says, I don't trust KULR. Yeah, I mean, like, how could you trust KULR if they're giving you articles, but they're not being clear about what it is that they're trying to communicate with that article? So that's how it's looking for KULR. Again, kind of a downtrend. What was the next one? Looks like it's CTM stock. CTM. This is a company that isn't as big as Big Bear. It's not as big as Palantir by any means. It's really pretty small. And we do have a position in it. We've traded it a lot. Overall, we're up, but on this position, you can tell we're down a tad. But they have this consistent trend, and while they're down below that EMA, you can see this trend right here starting to develop. And let me just clear up the chart a little bit. It's a little easier to see. Here we go. There we go. So you can see this is kind of the trend. They're starting to increase in value. They're under $100 million market cap. They are a penny stock, essentially. They're just around $1. But they have contracts in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're averaging around $10 to $12 million per quarter. It's around let's call it $40 to $50 million per year in revenue, with a net income there of just about negative 4 million. And so when you look at the revenue, let's call it 50 million a year, but their market cap is under 100 million at around 85 million. Let me just double check CTM stock. It's been a second. 84.89 million. That's pretty close. Then you have revenues of more than half of their market cap. So that's favorable. They're very small. They are starting to see some more pricing in. They've seen this surge from basically 10 cents up to $3.05. And that was very, very awesome if you're part of that. And we were able to capitalize on a portion of that. But at the same time, when you look at it, it is now down from there to $1 a share. You might say, did it just pump? Is it done? Is it going to fizzle out? No, I wouldn't necessarily say that. In fact, this is really not quote unquote a pump, because again, the market cap is so small that these types of spikes could happen with 1 or 2 institutional buyers, which it looks like it really did happen in about 3 or 4 days. So when it comes to the overall direction, we're seeing this trend develop. If we see this upside here, it would be about a 70% increase to this previous resistance that's rising. 76% increase that we'd be expecting with CTM, that I'm expecting personally. But at the same time, you're considering other things. Like, we look at the financials and they look favorable. The revenue holding between 10 and 12 million. And then you take a look at some of their news and you see them signing these contracts between, 50 and $150 million. And they have this Oasis Plus unrestricted IDIQ contract, which means they're on demand for the government. So that's good news for them. So taking a look at the chart, you have this move, again, a 70% swing. They are at this previous resistance that we've seen them struggle to break above at around $1.05. They get rejected, sell down to this trend, but still bullish. They're above the EMA currently, so we could see them bounce around 98 cents, which they did today, and see them push back up. If we see a break above $1.05, that's really good indication that it's pushing above the 200-day moving average, breaking out a little bit there. You get more confirmation that that 70% swing could potentially happen. So again, just really looking at it from a perspective of risk here and reward. And when you're considering investments, we also don't want to consider hype investments. If you take a look at CTM, like, let's really break it down from a perspective of just from a perspective of hype. You don't want to really be at a company, like, you want to invest in something that's solid. You see Bank of New York, you got Vanguard, you got State Street investing in them. But then you look at the news, and there's not a lot of hype articles. You could see an article maybe once every 3. Just recently, I haven't seen one of these in a very long time. We get this one here that says Maxim Group initiates coverage of Castellum with a buy recommendation. That has not happened. That happened 3 days ago. But look at the other articles, like from December, February. It's been a couple of months. And so really there hasn't been hype articles about this. And that's really good indication that you're looking at the right companies. Because you don't want, it's true, you could look at a company like Palantir. And so anyway, that's how the market looks. A quick little side note, don't want to get too off track, but Palantir, you got, like, every hour there's a hype article. Okay, that's fine, and that can work. But then you're really digging into sentiment versus value. And then when you look at the stock, and let's take Palantir for example, if you're looking at the financials, let's take a look, financials, and you're looking at the revenue, like the revenue, you were 630 million, they're up to 800 million, but their net income is down to negative 15% year over year. That it's down, and it's just 79 million net income. So their net income really has gone down by half since last quarter. Just keep that in mind. I'm not saying I'm a bear on Palantir. In fact, we've included them in our top 3 defense AI companies to watch here in 2025. But at the same time, you have to say, like, all of this hype, then you look at the $250 billion market cap or what have you. Does it justify the valuations with net income? That's when things start to get shaky. That's when investments start to become more and more risky from big sell-offs that could be 40% or more. And that's why you have to be careful if you're seeing massive amounts of hype articles. It's fine. I love the company. And at the same token, you have to look for companies. And I don't love the company. I'm not saying I love the company, but I like the movement, and I feel like they're actually providing value to the world. But in the same token, you have to say, is there a real valuation here? And so with CTM stock, just really to wrap this up, if they're bringing in an average of 50 million a year, they're smaller defense company providing cybersecurity, and their market cap's only at 85 million or just under that, then that's really good valuation numbers that really indicate they're bringing in more than what their company's worth. So that's why we have it there as one we're covering. So Tyler says BBAI. We could take a look. We have a video. I could link it for you. I could take a quick analysis, but we do have a video on BBAI earlier today. Green Guru says SoFi. Green Guru says, you know me, C3 AI, Palantir, SoUN, and BBAI. Yeah, I'm a little less convinced on C3 AI. We could take a look at their chart real quick. But let's just take a look before I get ahead of myself. I had this overall downtrend from a couple, is that 2 weeks ago, and we said it could make this move up to $27. That was right here, and it really has kind of started to push up. Maybe we see that trend happen that we mapped out a couple months ago. Yeah, it just broke above the 200-day moving average. That's bullish. Now RSI MACD looking a little overextended, so maybe we do see it sell down to the screen line we had a few weeks ago at about $20 a share for C3 AI stock. It's the ticker symbol AI. And yeah, it's currently at $22.90 essentially at one point today. And then it sold down here to $22.50. And yeah, we could see it sell. I think it could sell down to $20 even so on its way up. I think it's getting more coverage, and that's why it's doing well. But I do see an overall down direction. I mean, do you guys see that? We actually had this mapped out. Overall down direction. How many of you guys think that AI is a great industry, but there's a lot of companies that are fugazi? How many of you guys think that there are going to be companies that are kind of fugazi? I kind of felt that way with C3 AI. I kind of felt that, like, it's really hard because you have certain companies that, like, they promise a lot, they look really flashy, kind of like KULR we're looking at, right? They've had this Microsoft Forge strategic alliance accelerate enterprise AI adoption on their main page of news for the last 3.5 months. I mean, I'm not really seeing anything new there. So, and this Shell partnership, it's been there for I haven't seen anything new in the past really 6 months. So maybe that could also be why we're seeing the sell-off. Some of their partnerships look good, but take a look though. Let's really just take a look. AI stock financials. Okay, let's look quarter over quarter. They're increasing their revenue, and they have been. Looks like it's up 26% year over year. Net income's down 10%. They're down 80 million this past quarter, 80 million net income. So they're spending $200 million, and their revenue was at 98 million. They're a software company. Why are they spending $200 million in a quarter? That's just the way I see it. I don't know. And look, the revenue, they've been beating it. The earnings per share, they've been beating it. Okay. Anyway, I guess from a really deep perspective, the financials don't surprise me. In fact, their net income is becoming smaller and smaller. It's actually going lower and lower, but the revenue's increasing. So it is a little bit of a, a little bit of catch 22. Is that how you use that? But at the same time, I haven't seen anything that's really indicated why I would buy them. Getting a couple other questions here. Majid says, scooped 500 shares of CTM. Great coverage as well, always. Hey, appreciate that, Majid. Thanks for tuning in, man. Appreciate it. And then we have Jonathan, or someone says, I have a bag of CTM shares at $1.14. Nice. Okay, there you go. That's great. Jonathan Britton says, thanks for your videos. Hey, I appreciate it, Jonathan. Thanks for tuning in, man. Matt Mitchie says, SoFi and APLD. We've had a few people say SoFi, so let's take a look at it. Someone's name is Sad Knicks fan. That's funny. Yeah, let's take a look at SoFi. So we're going to head over to FinTech, financial industry. We got SoFi. Wow, okay, so SoFi has really been holding strong. This is actually the last move we predicted with SoFi. Really did actually pan out that way. Looks like it was down here right at the support, and I was saying, and we had this previous resistance. This was a couple weeks ago. And we said, hey, maybe it swings from this $10 range up to about $11.39. That's a previous resistance. And if it breaks out, maybe it uses it as a support. It did exactly that. It pushed up all the way to $12.36 after breaking past $10 or $11, and then went back down and revalidated that previous resistance as a support. And now it's starting this breakout uptrend. Now, when you look at the overall direction, let's just take a look. Let's just go like 1 year here. You start to see this overall direction now where it's really volatile. It is an uptrend, but it's really volatile. And it looks a little bit less trustworthy to me as a buy right now because of that. I know they're a technology company and they are doing finance, but I see them as not doing anything that is 5 years from now. In fact, they're doing the banking, they're doing the loans, they're doing the the student loans, they have the credit cards, they have the investments, but I didn't see them touching really crypto accounts, which I believe that's one of the things that puts Coinbase or Robinhood at a huge advantage. I see them kind of missing that a little bit. And again, I'm not a SoFi deep diver when it comes to all of the fundamentals, but just from that perspective, I do see them with mainstream coverage having their own stadium. Personally, I like the LA Chargers. I used to like San Diego. That's where I have a lot of family. And, I see them doing SoFi Stadium, so they have their own stadium and things like that. So you see them start to recover, but overall, keep in mind, RSI MACD now looking a little overbought after the recent move. And there is this resistance here that they could get rejected and sell back down to those $8-9 ranges. So if you do get in right now at this moment, I would approach it with some caution and most likely have a very clear plan so you could sleep at night around where you plan to sell and where you plan to take profit, and just follow that plan accordingly and sleep like a baby. So in any event, I would say they're a company you should follow regardless, as they are making this move. If they do continue this move, you might consider the margins about 30% profit. If it sells back down, though, again, about a 30% L. So they're in kind of a critical moment where they're halfway through this trend that we marked out, but they have stayed pretty true to pattern. But I would just see them maybe potentially sell back down a little bit before continuing up, as they look pretty overextended right now. Okay, so when it comes to BBAI, which is the other one you guys, I see you sending some messages on. How many people do we got saying BBAI? Maybe it was Thad. We got Tyler. Okay, you got Green Guru. We got RZLV. Johnny says RZLV. What's up, Johnny? We'll take a look there. Sad Knicks fan says BBAI. Angry Chubba. Man, you guys got some usernames in half. Angry Chubbaloo says Big Bear $5 end of week. I love it. And then Jonathan Britton says I'm all in BBAI. William Walker says BBAI. Let's go, William. All right, guys. BBAI it is. Let's take a look. Just for reference, we kind of dove a little bit deeper today, and we do have a video out there. One of the things most people don't realize about Big Bear AI, it's not like most defense investments where you get into the investments and you kind of hope that they get more contracts or that maybe it shows up in the real world. What I see with Big Bear AI is that they're really being used right now. And I went to the airport, and this is something I time and time again when we're evaluating a market, in this case, the defense market. You see them start to have a really nice push up recently. The market of defense is in a really good place as far as revenue and expecting to see more spend from the government, regardless of policy. And this recent surge above the 200-day moving average is showing they are continuing some of this direction upward. Breaking above those indicators really does indicate more bullish momentum. But the thing we're looking at with the market is not just that there's revenue, not just that there's spending, but also the actual usage in real life. That's the second most important indicator that we look at in a market. Not only is it revenue, is there profits, is it getting out there, but the second thing is it being used? And Big Bear AI is being used at the airport according to what I've seen. I've seen their logo, they've scanned my face, and that's the type of technology that you see firsthand and you want to invest in. So what do we got for the margins for profit? We can see this right now. It's starting to break up above these levels. It's starting to look just a tad bit on the hyper bullish side. We've had a couple days in a row now where it's ended the day green. And as of recently, we know they have some contracts. They got the partnership with Palantir. But there is some levels that they're having some trouble with right now. This right here is a key level, about $3.75. We've been saying it for a couple weeks. $3.75 is the resistance, and you can see it right here. It got rejected. Today, it pushed up to $4 at one point, which we covered that institutional accumulation in our live session this morning in Stockmate, and we also covered it in our recent video. But then you have this support here, this level at which it's kind of consolidating from. Now, if we see it continue this right here, it's really interesting because we broke it down earlier, and every time it's gotten rejected at this $3.78 range, it's then consolidate a little bit and then sell off. Then a week later, it makes its run back, pushes up, gets rejected, consolidate it, and then it sells off. And then you see it consolidate, it finds that support again. But this time, when it made its run up to this level of 375, it shot up more, and it shot up very strong over the course of just about 2 or 3 days. Now it's getting rejected, which indicates more potential profit in the near term if it breaks out, because now we're saying, oh, that's a pretty strong move. It did get just rejected, but if it breaks above this 375, we're really starting to see the 3 stages to a reversal. When it comes to identifying the 3 stages to a reversal, first you have the initial trend. In this case, we could mark it out as this downtrend right here. Then you have the next level of the consolidation phase. So whether it was going up or down, the second stage is consolidation. And then now we're starting to see it knock on the door, and we're saying, what if this is the next level? What if we see it make this run up here? That's the third stage after consolidation, as we start to see validation and confirmation of the reversal. And so what we're going to look for is exactly that. Do we see it break above that $3.75, but hold above it and really start to push up? Then I'm really liking it. So how we traded it earlier yesterday and the day before was we bought here at about $2.70, and we sold this morning at market open in our live session at $3.59. That's where we sold. A little bit late. It was right about here. So really just where it is right now. We sold, it was about a $590 profit in just a matter of 2 or 3 days. And so the reality is, if it breaks above, it's great. We'll just have to see, because overall we're seeing this bull trend, and it does have that potential. But again, if it gets rejected, we've seen what happens when it gets rejected. So if we get in, tight stop most likely, unless you're in it for the long term. So that's something that I would look at. When it comes down to some people saying hey, what about the lawsuit? Will, what any news on the lawsuit and stuff like that? Some people comment on the videos and they say, Will, the lawsuit's so bad. Don't invest in this stock because of the lawsuit and all this. Guys, there are lawsuits almost every single day on almost every company in the stock market. So it happens almost every day. And if you haven't done the research and you're saying this stock's going to tank because of the lawsuit, I almost always, if I click on your profile, you got zero subscribers or zero published content, and you have no facts whatsoever to back up why you think it's going to sell off, then I'm going to delete the comment. I'm going to be real, because it's just misinformation. Every single company that I've seen that has anything going for them has lawsuits. I mean, what was the one I was just looking at earlier today? It was earlier today. We were looking at another company. I know Tesla always has lawsuits, but we're looking at another smaller stock. And what do you know? The exact same law firms that are like, there's a misreporting on the earnings. And some simple thing that the company could go back and fix, and it didn't even impact investor sentiment because it's such a small thing. But all these lawsuit companies are like, give us your money and we'll get you money for suing them. But anyway, I know I got a little heated there. I apologize. It's the lawsuit stuff that always happens every single day, right? We see it every single day. Anyway, okay, I'm done. All right. So anyway, I wouldn't worry about it. It's quite common, and when it comes to their revenues and their profit margins, they seem to be doing better as they're paying down debts and getting more profits, more deals like that one in Denver, and seeing real world usage is a big factor. So that's the story for William Walker. You got the full explanation for the lawsuits. That's what I would say. And then so you got Ace. Ace says RZLV. Yeah, we had a few people hit those. Jose Alvarado. What's up, Jose? It's been a little bit. Hopefully you're having a great day. And then we got one hell of an almond. Says sound. All right, we'll take a look at that RZLV. Everybody's saying it, so let's take a look. Looks like an AI company. Start to see them surge right now. No momentum except for recently breaking up above this SMA, and they're starting to look a little overbought right now. See, they're at the peak of this RSI and MACD, so looking a little more on the risky side as far as margins. Let's take a look at the first thing we look whenever we look at a new company before I really jump in is the stock price and market cap. $500 million, so not a small, well, pretty small, but getting bigger. And I'm getting a quick call here. There we go. Sorry, guys. I am talking to my dad because I'm in the middle of remodeling an apartment that we're renting out today and tomorrow. The guy already came, and I need to replace locks on a door. And he's like, and we're checking at Home Depot, and he's like, is there locks on this door? And I'm like, or is there locks at this Home Depot? Do they have the same one? And I'm like, yeah, I checked, they do. And I'm just letting him know. And he's calling me, and I got to shoot him a text. Anyway. All right. Rezolve RZLV financials. Revenue. Oh my gosh. What in the world? Okay, this is why we start with the financials, because guys, I make more in a quarter than this company. And that's not a way to brag. I mean, literally $26,000 an entire quarter. What is that? That's like $7K a month. Okay. And 35 employees. Are they like, okay, they're extreme geniuses. They figured out a way to crack the code that involves a magnetic technology that revolutionizes the way that all energy is formed, and we can get free energy forever through magnetic technology that costs less than a penny to make. No, I don't know what it is. Let's see what it is. Why are they going up? They do have a lot of hype articles, which we talked about earlier. Something to watch out for. Did they sign a massive deal recently that's going to skyrocket their revenue? Let's take a look. Surprised they're public with those types of financials, to be honest. RZLV, Rezolve AI. PLC. Hopefully it doesn't sound like I'm bashing them. I'm just being honest. That's what you guys came for, right? Okay. Rezolve AI and Tether to make crypto mainstream. Okay. Harnessed conversational AI to transform customer experience. Trusted by leading brands is different than partnered with. Let's keep that in mind. Because I could put out a Google article and that means I'm trusted, or have a Gmail that's a Google Suite Gmail for my company with Google and say trusted by. So keep that in mind. Same thing with Microsoft. I could use Microsoft Copilot or Teams, Microsoft Teams, to run my company, and I'm trusted by Microsoft to run my company. It doesn't necessarily mean that we actually have a partnership. Just keep that in mind. So far, that's where I'm at. Conversational AI, customers hate chatbots. They love helpful conversations. Our generative AI solutions transforms. It's a chatbot. It's a generative AI that is a chatbot. Customers hate chatbots. But you see, our chatbot. Okay, guys. I don't need to look at this anymore. I'm sorry. we are looking for pure value. So we just got to be careful and make sure that we're really looking at pure value and companies that are really making a difference. So on that note, we can go ahead and end on SOUN. Let's take a look. Sound. And it looks like we're seeing that Sound has recently sold down a little bit. Let me just refresh the page. Cool. All right, so Sound, as you can see, is down to $9.85. We had a tremendous run with Sound at one point where we bought around $17. It was right here, and we ran it up to $24 in just a matter of a few weeks. That was really nice, right around the New Year's. How many of you guys traded Sound and made a bunch of money during this time? I know a lot of you guys did, and we did quite well. But now we have this new trend. Sound is intrinsically a pretty good idea. There's two things that I really think stand out with Sound. The first thing is that they have a AI voice that they're signing some fairly good contracts with. I know they have a legit contract with Hyundai. They have a contract with, so like the in-car voice that is AI. They have a contract, they're working with some police departments to allow AI to talk with the police in their movements. So like when they're out on the road, the car in front of you is indicating that their license plate blah, 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 was actually a stolen car, blah, 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 or whatever, right? You have an AI talking to you while you're a police officer about what the car is seeing around you, things like that. I don't know. That's interesting. But then you also have them potentially sign a McDonald's contract to be the AI at the drive-thru, which could be huge. Now, I don't know that that's signed. I don't think that did, but I could check. As you can see, though, in their overall trend, while they've started to spike up, they are on a downtrend. Just recently, though, they broke above the 200-day moving average a little bit more than they had in the past, almost looking bullish at this moment, maybe even a little bit overbought. If we start to see them sell down a little bit in this $9 range, but still continue the overall direction, there's a couple really nice trends that could take place. The first one, it's got to be this uptrend right here. Right here, you can see this uptrend. This is where I'm saying we could maybe see them sell down to this $9 range, holding above the 200-day moving average, but starting this new trend. And if we see that happen, let's see this trend right here. And we do, the hyperbole case is they break out above this previous resistance right here at around $10, and they shoot up into the next level, which is about $15 or $16. That's a hyperbole case. But what might more than likely happen, in my eyes, is a little bit slower of a development. And again, this is, at this point, it's speculation. But just based on the pattern, what I see, and now the RSI MACD looking a little bit overbought right here, and then kind of peaking out near this resistance and then kind of consolidating, I think maybe we see them sell down in this $8.50 or $9 range here before continuing up. And if that happens, say that happens, it's still a 25% margin for profit from there. I don't know that that exact move would happen, but that's the difference between you know, just saying it's going up, look, it's going up, and we buy, and that's fine. Like if you have the risk management and you have a plan, all power to you. You can sleep great. But if you're looking at it from a perspective of SoundHound, ticker symbol SOUN, if they sell down to this level, it's now still holding in this trend to end above the 200-day moving average. And if they start to validate this 850 range, then we could see a really nice trade in my eyes to ride more comfortably. So that's how I would look at SoundHound. But overall, I think in the long term, I wouldn't necessarily buy for the long term, but I would most likely if we see trends develop, like in this case, there may be breaking out a little bit of this downtrend, starting to push above the 200-day moving average, that near term trading of seeing those swings is where we love to trade, especially in AI right now and in quantum, because it's just such a fast moving and innovative industry. It's one of the hottest industries. Just by investing in quantum, having a piece even after some of the sell off, by investing in AI and quantum companies, I was able to, by the end of last year, have over 100% return for the full year. And it wasn't because I was super smart. It wasn't because I did anything other than just show up each day and start to learn the markets and really pay attention. But it was because we were also in the right markets. And so anyone watching right now, how many of you guys like feel like the markets right now are starting to breathe a little bit and we might see some temporary relief or start to see some recoveries? If you feel that way and you're looking at the markets now, you know, right now is a really good time when some of the most consistent trends start to develop. And that's why we want to watch these AI companies. And now I'm just saying one more thing, shooting a text over to my dad. He's like, all right, I got the locks. Anything else you need? Good. We need a mirror. We need a mirror, and that's it. Great. And that is the number one thing I'd say is markets and momentum play a key role in the growth of anything. We want to pay attention. Right now, that's how it looks. So appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Appreciate you all. MU, Johnny, thanks for being here. Taking a look at Rocket Lab. Okay. Yeah, Rocket Lab's doing quite well. I believe they were recovering at market open. How are they doing today? Still in the green here. Yeah, the overall uptrend for Rocket Lab, it's been a little volatile, but I do see this recovery up into these $30 ranges to be quite possible for the company. We did a full breakdown of them yesterday. They're end to end. They're building their own semiconductors. They're launching into space to get satellite companies on the right track to have their tech up into space. Those are special things they're doing. I have a friend that works there actually, and he's very optimistic. That's why he's at the company, because he really likes the company, and he can fold a taco with one hand while he codes up the software for Rocket Lab. He's awesome. Anyway, so followed a few months ago watching video on RGTI, big bet on quantum computing now. How long have you been trading? Someone says. I started trading back in 2018 publicly. I didn't start trading, or I started trading really in 2013, investing. I did E-Trade. I did Robinhood in 2014. I had to use parents' account at the time when they first came out, because I live in California, just a little bit close. I'm right here between Sacramento and Lake Tahoe, and I'm really close to where Robinhood is based, just about 2 hours. And so when the company came out, I was one of the first users, and I've always been kind of the first users for stuff. Recently, we just signed a contract with Robinhood. You guys might actually see some marketing with my face on it potentially. But if you guys go back to my videos, I don't know if this is interesting. How many of you guys want to see the analytics? You guys want to see analytics? How much does YouTube pay a creator? Are you guys curious? Should we go back the last? My YouTube's been super interesting. It's really started to cook up the past few months. $10,000 in revenue, but really only like 99% of that came after December. So into this year, which is quite interesting. But anyway, when I was looking at my content on YouTube, I was looking at the videos that we did a long time ago, and we have videos on YouTube investing back in 2019. I think if I go to videos here, I go to oldest. Was it 2019? Let's see. We were looking at business models 6 years ago. Really started here. Let's see. How I made 17% trading Apple stock. 6 years ago. That's funny. Anyway, so we're going to watch these companies closely. Someone says, just want to jump in, say hello, followed you for a bit as a newer investor and really like your methodical approach to stocks. Great analysis on momentum stocks. Hey, great commenting. Appreciate that. Thank you so much for commenting, taking the time. And when it comes to the approach, it's very methodical, but it's very simple. 3 things we look at: the markets, the analysis, and the margins for profit and the risk. Those 3 things are the key to really being able to find and execute profitable trades, in my experience. Real estate, they look at the same thing. They look at the market, they look at the analysis of the deal, and then they look at the margins for profit and the risk. Investing in minerals, they do the same thing. Starting a business, they do the same thing. As it comes down to knowing you're in a profitable, growing market that's seeing real world usage, then number 2, you get into analysis. We look at the trends, the indicators, number 1. And then number 2 in analysis, we look at the news and the fundamentals. And then number 3 in the analysis, we look at the financials, the numbers, what makes sense. And then number 3, when we get from analysis to risk and profit, then we're looking at what is the margins for profit and how much risk do we take on by investing in a company. So that's really the methodical approach, the really simple approach. And then having that approach, once you get into it, you know the numbers make sense, you know the risk and reward makes sense, and you don't get that emotional, you just execute your plan. Can the markets have downturns? Yeah, it's just like real estate. You know, real estate, yeah, you bought your house and you're flipping and the market's gone down. Hey, it happens. And guess what? The person that continues to buy and flip houses for one house a year for 10 years, 15 years, they're going to be super profitable. Same thing with the traders that really stick with it. If they continue to manage the risk and look at each deal that way, then they create the life of cash that they continue to build and that they continue to make money work for them. And that's the difference really between the people that have a lot in this world and are investing and having the money to have the freedom to do the things that they want to do or to make the money that can multiply itself, and those that are struggling with money. And the funny thing is like, the more you do it, the easier it gets. The more you trade and invest, the easier it gets. Really. I mean, people are like, the struggle is what's keeping me. If you're struggling, that means if you're struggling, first of all, it's working on you. You're getting there anyway. But if you're struggling to get there, also realize that at one point you have to ask yourself, because struggling sometimes means you're not doing it right. You got to take the time. People that struggle more actually make less a lot of times. Have you ever noticed how people that are making a lot of money or doing really well seem to continue to have success and continue to do really well and continue to make money? Yeah, it's because they've realized the difference between knowing that all they have to do is steadily work towards the goal and continually set those goals, and they don't think too hard about it. They just think about the expected result and plan for it and go for it. That's what they do. So awesome, guys. Yeah, happy to hear. Yeah, we do options every once in a while. We do swing trades. And if you ever are looking to do options or trading, You can check the YouTube channel out. You could check out the technical. We have technical analysis, fundamental analysis, and options that we cover inside of StockMates. If you ever want all of those, if you're wondering about that, just wanted to invite you. And is that cool? If you guys ever want to watch me trade live, just so you guys know, you can always click the second link below. We go live at market open tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time every single day, Monday through Friday. We trade the markets and we are there live. And if you ever want those things, along with all of those lessons I just shared with you, and then on top of that, you get a free t-shirt when you join lifetime access. So sending out some free t-shirts for StockMate. That's exciting. But again, if you ever want to join us in our live session tomorrow, it's that second link down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you all. Hopefully you have a great rest of your night. If I earned your thumbs up, smash that like button. Do consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.